Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So now guys, they say sorry seems to be the hardest word to say, but in some instances the sin, the offense is so egregious that you have to bite the bullet, swallow your pride, and start off with that word sorry, because you have committed such a damaging offense, such a damaging sin, that sorry has to be the starting point before you then go on to give an explanation or try to excuse yourself in any way. So sorry should have been what this guy started off with. As guys, I bring you this: Buhari's government disappointing, many Nigerians worried, former Inec chair Jega. So it is Jega now that is telling us this, that Buhari's government is disappointing and many Nigerians are worried. But then, of course, Buhari is no different from as he has been all the way through his life. That is in fairness to this guy. Buhari has always been a religious and ethnic bigot. He has always been single-minded. He has always been rigid. In fact, if you go and read the text of the Babangida coup then that removed the Buhari military regime, you remember that Babangida removed Buhari. Part of the text of that reasoning for removing Buhari, I think it was actually Sani Abacha that read the fellow Nigerian speech. Part of the reason and the key reason that they gave for removing Buhari from power as the military dictator back then was that he was too rigid, too unwielding, too singular in his positioning, and too ethnic in his reasoning. So that is exactly what he was then back in the 80s. So you cannot expect then, and he has not shown any signs, by the way, up till 2015 that he has learned new ways. So you cannot then expect that he will act differently once you've given him the levers of power to take ownership of the nation. And he was gifted that presidency in 2015, by the way. Good luck, Jonathan won that presidency outrightly. We all saw the streams of like 10 7-year-old children voting in places like Kano, Katsina, etc. And they were just writing figures. And the police commissioner for Kano then, by the way, was then the police commissioner that Buhari appointed immediately, that was then sacked a few years ago for this Adamu to replace. So he was rewarded for his criminality during that election, because it was so glaring. The cameras were there and we were watching in open-eyed bewilderment as 10, 12, 7-year-old children were lining up and thumping prints to vote in a candidate, ballot snatching, etc. The whole thing was a chaos, and that was what brought Buhari in. And it was, of course, Jega that rigged him in with the collusion of people now. And a lot of these people, by the way, that rigged him in are paying the price now. Lamido Sanusi, he was the money man that was using CBN fundings then to fund his clansman. And Jega, of course, favored his clansman over a South guy. And this was one of the mistakes, by the way. Sorry, I'm going on too much without even getting into the story first. But we must necessarily have backgrounds to these things. This was one of the key mistakes that Goodluck Jonathan did, that he wanted to create a level playing field and then ask the people to approve of his work or not. So this is not how it works in Nigeria. How it works in Nigeria is you use the potency of your position to maintain your position, i.e. rig yourself back in. So he should have put a southerner at least there, or even an Ijaw man there. This is what we're seeing with Buhari now. Heavens have not fallen. He has put his man Mahmoud Yakubu there to just write results as he tells him, and heavens have not fallen. So he should have just rigged himself back in, or even, and that would not have been rigging, by the way, because Goodluck Jonathan was the popular will of the people then. But that was one of the key mistakes that he made. But the arrowhead of that rigging of Buhari into power in 2015 was this Professor Atehiru Jega, who is now lamenting as again Buhari's government disappointing, many Nigerians worried, a headline attributed to the former Inec chairman Jega. So now let's now see what sort of a penance is being paid here. The immediate past chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Atihiru Jega, has described the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari as disappointing, saying many Nigerians are worried about the direction it is taking the country. Speaking to correspondents, the professor of political science who presided over the 2015 general election that brought President Buhari in, accused the present administration of being very inept in managing peaceful coexistence in the country. Jiga said, unfortunately, Buhari, has disappointed so many people. He still has time to correct things if he has the capacity to do that. But frankly, his government has been very disappointing. Many people wish him well, but are worried about the direction the country is taking. Governance has been very poor at the federal level and many of the states. That is why we are seeing challenges everywhere, whether it is insurgency, banditry, armed robbery, and other things. The former Inec chairman further stated that the accumulated misgivings by sections of the citizens led to frustration, which finds expression in these demands for restructuring. He also described Nigerian politicians as greedy, selfish, and reckless. He said, "We have a lot to do, and the first thing to do is to get it right by securing the mindset of our politicians from selfishness, greed, and reckless banditry. Actually, many of them are also bandits, not just those who stand at the roadside with AK-47 to steal recklessly from the government coffers and turn hundreds, if not millions, of our people into poverty, deny children the opportunity to go to school because they have stolen the money that would have gone into education or was supposed to buy arms and ammunition for the military, to the extent that they can no longer fight banditry. That itself is banditry." So banditry, of course, I mean, this guy is not saying anything that we don't already know. So there's no breaking news here. He is saying that Buhari is inept. We all know that he is inept. He is saying that he has time to turn it around, which is absolutely wrong. He doesn't have time to turn it around anymore. But then he queries that he has the capacity. He queries if he has the capacity to turn it around, and we all know categorically that Buhari does not have the capacity to turn it around. He did not even have the capacity to point it in the right direction in the first instance, never mind now turning it around for reasons that reasons rather that I have already elucidated. This guy all through his life has only ever manifested in the manner that he's presenting now. So how can you then have the expectation that the man that has always said that I am this way, you then give him an opportunity to have power and dominion over other people and expect him to exercise those powers differently from how he has already presented himself and stated categorically that he is? In fairness to Buhari, in one of the interviews in the build-up to the 2015 election, before he became president, they asked him if he had changed that much. He said, yes, this is democracy, but I cannot really say that as a person and in terms of my views and how I see things and work things, I don't think I have changed that much. So he said that then because he thought that that played to his advantage to say that, but then he was saying that because they were selling him in 2015 as a man of modest needs, who was strict to the rules, who was anti-corruption and pro the people, and they were dressing him up in all of these Igbo outfits, putting that Igbo red cap on him and waving so you know that white, what is it called again? I've forgotten now. That's you know, the thing that they make. I don't even know. I'll remember it probably after I finish this video. But that thing that they use. I think it's made out of a horse hair or something. So anyway, they dressed him up in the traditional clothing of all of the ethnic nations of the country. They even put this Malami in a suit. That was how they sold Buhari then in 2015. But he, in fairness to him, had always maintained that he was no different than he had always been. So for you now to expect him to manifest differently, this was a guy that was flogging Igbo and Yoruba people in Yaba under his war against the indiscipline in the was that in the 80s or thereabout, that they will say you are not queuing for a bus, and then they will roll out all these soldiers to beat you almost to death's point for the high crime of not queuing properly for a bus. So this was the manner then, brutality, and then he introduced that, of course, in famous now retrospective law to make drug trafficking a capital offense, and he wiped out a lot of our people, a lot of them Igbo people, for committing a crime that was not a crime before the law. It was a crime, but the law then was not a capital crime. So he then made a capital crime, and rather than it then being from that point forward, he then retrospectively applied it that whoever committed this crime even prior before this law came in will still feel the weight of this new. So he's that kind of guy, and he said he was that way inclined even as at 2014. So for you now to expect him to be now different is just you being unfair to the man, really. To be honest, he has always been a narrow-minded ethnic jingoist and a religious bigot and a Fulani supremacist of some form, imagining himself to be wiser than everyone, even though his IQ is that of a Form 4, Form 5 kid. But then, of course, the people who thought they were using him to chase good luck Jonathan out of power, and that it was too simple-minded for them not to be able to handle. I'm talking about Tinubu and his co-travelers. They are now finding out differently. Come share thoughts about all this with me in the comment section. Sorry seems to be the hardest word, but this guy should have started off his piece with a sorry. An apology to the nation for vesting this guy upon us is what this guy should have kicked off with. But then the thrust of what he has to say is what I am interested in and inviting your opinions on. So come share thoughts. But before you come share those thoughts, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. The bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Click on like as well, because that helps with the YouTuber algorithm. Professor Atehiru Jega is questioning Buhari's capacity, but then Buhari's capacity has not been any different than it ever was. So a poor assessment from the onstart before he appointed him as the president of Nigeria. What says you? So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section, but here I say peace.